Hello, welcome back to the Birds on Power Lines podcast. Today we're going to be doing another Musings episode, so we're going to be just talking about things that we've been thinking about, things we've been doing. And if you are listening to us on an audio platform, this podcast is, as we're now doing, it's a video podcast. We're doing it over Zoom since we're not together right now. But yeah, so if you're listening on an audio platform like Podbean, Spotify podcasts, Apple podcasts, you can come over to our YouTube channel at Birds on Power Lines and Birds on Power Lines podcast and see us.
So again, we are not together, and if you have listened to us before or joined us on our video podcast, you might notice that my background is weird. It's not what we usually have, and that's because I'm getting some stuff done in my office here. So this is a bit of a transition. And we'll see how things go. So we're on the other side of the room, so we have different kinds of stuff on our shelves or on my shelves, and they are in their dorm room. So
about the same.
And that's why we're not together, because they're at university. So so today, I guess, like they were saying, we're doing musings, and I think we agreed that we're going to start with our recent journey to Walt Disney World, and and to be honest, the main motivation was to go to the Star Wars experience because we are fandoms, right? So it's sort of, I guess, the fans' enjoyment of Walt Disney World. So it's going to be that perspective. And the way it worked is that we had a pass to go to one park a day, so
we went to one per day.
So we'll talk about. I was thinking I would just mention my favorite ride or my favorite amusement park. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what you were planning on doing, but that's
about the same thing.
Kind of thing. Do you want to go sequentially,
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So, and just as a heads up, we were there over New Year's, so. We had a few things to say about being at Walt Disney over New Year's. At least I do. Right?
Yes.
The first park we were at was Animal Kingdom. Mm-hmm. Do you want to start with?
Sure. I can go first. So then just in general with Animal Kingdom, I really loved the light show at night with the Tree of Life. That was really nice. It was really special, and we weren't really expecting that. Cause I guess I did not know that happened, or at least I was not And it was really nice, and we were able to see like two of the shows like on the Tree of Life. And they were like holiday themed since we were there like over the holidays, which is really nice. And I also quite liked there's a little like parade type thing in the like main annex around the Tree of Life, with like performers in like penguin and polar bear costumes, and I just thought it was really charming, especially the little penguins.
Go to see the Lion King in like the theater, right? When they have sort of like the movable puppet kind of appendages with this.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, that was nice. I agree. Yeah, so it was that top.
No, and then my top ride, we started off very strong. We stood in a line for like, what, 3 hours for the Avatar Flight of Passage, which is one of the most popular rides in...
Let's say that again. I was talking over you. I apologize.
Oh, sorry. We were in line for Avatar Flight of Passage, which is one of the most like popular rides in like the entire park. So when we did not do the Lightning Pass, I don't even remember if there was a Lightning Pass for that. No. But we did not do that. So we stood in line at like when the park opened for like 3 hours, which it was okay. I do wish the line's a little shorter, but I think it was really nice. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was very, very, very cool, very immersive, and that's another thing that I really like thought like throughout like when we were here at Disney, like everything's very immersive. Like a lot of the rides, especially like the ones with the longer, more popular like wait times, longer wait times, they're at least the waiting areas are quite immersive, which is very nice. So I like that.
Standing there.
So that was probably my favorite one, and also
All right. Anything else to say about that, or I don't want to.
I mean, I also like we also went on Expedition Everest and Dinosaur. Those were two like a little. They're not like very like they're not like the newer rides, but I just I like them. They're nice.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, those are probably my top few things.
Top few. All right. So I'm gonna agree with you for my top. And this might. I'll talk about this later. This might be my overall top. Was Avatar: Flight of Passage. I
Sure.
just loved it. So the only thing I would say, and again, I haven't written everything down. Um, you really need to suspend your disbelief to really, really go for it. Like, and I think I because if don't look at the sides, don't look at the other people. Keep looking forward, right? I mean, I think the only thing I would love to do is if they curve the screen a little so that you
Mhm.
don't see the
I
person
wrote that down. I wrote that down, but I knew you were gonna say that, so I didn't say that.
on that pretty. But yeah, like I think that that would have made it like amazing. And I mean, the whole thing, the way the whole motion that I guess it's sort of like a not a bike, but they sort of make you you're sort of in there and you sort of so you can sort of go with everything and it's like a 4D, right? Um, so I think that and the wind on your face when you're flying on the creature and it was just I just thought it was well done. I mean, I actually get chills doing thinking about it right now because you really if you allow yourself to believe, you really feel like you're there. And I think that was amazing. And I had not seen the movies. I have not seen any of those movies. So
Oh, okay.
and even so, I really enjoyed it. I know the premise of what it's about.
Mhm.
And the thing is, if you don't know the premise of the movies, and if you haven't seen it, if you're one of, someone like me who hasn't, which is weird, they explain it before you go in, so you you got the gist before. So in that immersive experience, while you're standing in line, you learn about, the whole idea. And they
Mhm.
have so many, like, I mean, even Dad. When I say they, like you guys, when I was saying
Yeah.
doing the lightning pass, it's you and Dad. Um, that took pictures and video of some of the stuff. It was so well done, right? To sort of explain the whole genetic basis of what's happening. So yeah,
Mhm.
it was really, really good. I really, really enjoyed it. I can't say enough about it. And I think especially as you get older, it's harder to suspend your disbelief. So, but I just made myself do that and I really enjoyed it. So that was really great. And I guess my second was Expedition Everest. I had forgotten how that went, and it was fun. Like it's fun. It's an older ride, but it was fun. And even though we were wet because it rained that day, it was fun. I enjoyed it. So yeah, those are my top two experiences there. The other thing, talking about it being over Christmas, or not Christmas, but over the holidays, and because they're playing Christmas and holiday music, every park has sort of a slightly different variation on that. So in the Animal Kingdom one, it was sort of more with drum beats and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
different languages and stuff. Like that was the one thing that I just thought of mentioning when you were talking about.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. Then one thing I wanted to mention before we keep going, since we're doing this on Zoom, sometimes our audio might cut out if we are
Yeah,
speaking over each other. Just one thing I wanted to
yes.
mention before we.
If our audio cuts out a little bit,
Yeah,
and hopefully your power doesn't go out because you're having power.
it should be okay. But
Okay, so that's Animal Kingdom, right?
mhm, mhm.
So do you want me to start with? No, maybe you should.
Uh,
Hollywood.
yeah, maybe. So then the second day we went to Hollywood Studios, which, as we know, is where Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is
Yes,
located. I was extremely
and as
excited
I
for
said,
that.
that might have been the whole reason we went to Disney was to go and see
A
that,
little bit.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So in order to get on I don't know if it's, I think it is, I think it's my overall favorite, but in order to get on the ride that I absolutely loved, Rise of the Resistance, we got up very early. We stood in line. We were going. We were ready, and it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that, and
Mhm.
I'll say that yeah, it was worth it. So if
Mhm.
you're listening to us, we were up at 5 a.m. at when we were on
Yeah.
vacation at Walt Disney, so we could
Mhm.
get on the first bus.
And I would advise, like, if you're thinking of doing that, it is a good idea, like, to like, I don't know how the experience is with the lightning pass for that ride, but like, if you don't want to get that, it is a very good idea to go like and line up like maybe like 30 minutes, 20 minutes before the park opens. And if you're staying at a Disney Resort hotel, you can get in early. But yeah, it's a good idea to do that because like you might be waiting in line for like a little while, but it's definitely not as long as you would be later in the day. So it's just a good idea to go early.
I was going to say
It looks really
that.
nice early.
About the standing in line, right? There's things that are happening while you're standing in line.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then I think
Like it's really that,
yeah.
I didn't know if you were going to talk about that, but I thought that made standing in the line was, I mean, like how, anyways, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but well,
No, but it's very nice, and
that's
that
your
one
line. So yeah,
that one I do feel the line for the ride was, I think that one was pretty much like the most immersive one of all of them,
oh
and
yeah,
it was very very cool. And like if you're going exploring Galaxy's Edge after or at some point, definitely like keep an eye out, like keep your eyes on the ground, keep your eyes in the sky. Like there's little things, little tidbits everywhere. Like it cost a lot of money to make, and it looks like it did. So
was
that
awesome.
it's very 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 cool. And even like everything, even the food looks like it could be from like Batu. It's very very cool. I would especially recommend, like what I did was I read, there's a tie-in novel called, like I think there's this tie-in novel like Black Spire something
I think
something.
it's called Lost of Post, is it?
Yeah, it's Black Spire, but there's a tie-in novel that takes place in Galaxy's Edge that I was actually reading like while we were there, and it really like incorporates a lot. Like it really expands like the world a bit more, like the planet a bit
Put a
more.
link to that. All right, I'll put a link to that novel. So if you want to check it out, you can do that.
Yes, but that was there was that, and then also there was Smuggler's Run, and we went on Star Tours. I enjoyed quite both of them, but I don't I still like Rise of the Resistance was my favorite. It was like just because it was just so immersive. Everything was very it was really cool.
Yeah, just so we don't give away spoilers about the immersiveness, one of the reasons I think we're sort of saying this is because there was actually actors involved in the immersiveness. So it's not like you're just watching video stuff. Like there was like real people interacting with you.
Yeah, like a lot of the cast members were like totally selling it.
Yes,
It was really good.
it was good, very well done. And a shout out to all the people who are working in that environment and on that ride. You really did a great job. Right? Okay, anything else you want to say about Hollywood Studios or
Um, I mean, like the rest of it was also pretty nice. But like the main standout in my mind was Galaxy's Edge, but the rest of Hollywood Studios is also very quite nice. I enjoyed the Runaway Railway. I think that was in Hollywood Studios, right? Yeah,
Mickey,
Mickey
I
and
was going to talk
Minnie's
about that. I'll talk
Runaway
about that
Railway.
as well.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
there you go. I'll let you talk about that.
All right, so my turn. I think what I'm gonna agree with you absolutely. I said number one. It's a tough one, but I'll go with Rise of the Resistance is what I said here. And as we were just talking about, I love the role playing, the actors, the setup for each interval, right? So that each little part. Again, I don't want to spoil it for anyone because part of the joy of that experience is being surprised by what's going on. So that that is great. Yeah, I'm not going to say what I wrote down here because that would be a spoiler, and I don't want to do that. But again, I just loved all of Black Spire Outpost. It was like you're saying, like even the little footprints for the little robots that you'll see.
Yeah, the Gonk
You
yeah.
can follow
And
them.
I followed them. I saw the footprints on the ground. I was like, huh, Gonk droid footprints. I wonder where those go. I followed them. Oh look, there's
Yeah,
Gonk droids.
right. And then the other thing was, I guess your sort of first foray into a bit of cosplay, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The
it
two bounding, Disney bounding, because people
is,
over the
yeah.
age of I think 14 aren't allowed to wear costumes in Disney, like or like very like accurate costumes in Disney. So you got to be a little creative.
So we were sort of suggestive of Jedi, right? And the other, and that gets me into the other thing that was so great is like the characters in that Star Wars experience were amazing. So Chewbacca and Rey and like the whole thing. But we interacted with Mando, and And we were trying to figure out how they did this, but apparently they have little buttons
They
with.
must, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the general consensus. They
Sounded
have
like
like
Pedro
buttons
Pascal.
in
We were
there.
literally talking with Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
When we went up there, and just so you know, Mando has a little Grogu that's animatronic. So it's like moving
It
around.
looks almost like the real thing. Like
Yeah,
it is
and
very
it's
convincing.
and making little like it's just so cute and so we got our picture taken with Mando, and he had this little. It was Pedro Pascal, and it says Grogu's okay with the Jedi.
Yeah.
That made the whole effort of finding a costume worth it because it was just nice. So it's just like, all right, cool. So yeah, there was that. So I have to say I did enjoy that even as an adult. I really enjoyed that, and yeah, I really wanted to give Chewbacca a hug, and I didn't get a chance to. But there
But
was
everyone wanted to give Chewbacca a hug.
honestly there was plenty of people 50s and up wanting to give Chewbacca a hug, all right? Because we grew up with Chewbacca and it was just great. So it's like fun for all ages. I honestly, yeah, so it was great. And remember that little kid that started crying because she wanted to say hi to Chewbacca and then she didn't get a chance. Did you see that? Oh my God.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they're sort of behind a barrier a little bit, for that part. So not they'll walk around, but for there's times where they'll have people sort of
Like meet and greet type thing. Yeah.
right. So that yeah, so they're just giving everybody some space, and then they'll walk up and down it. So it really well done. Other things I was going to say about the Rise of the Resistance, I don't want to spoil it. I think we spent most of our time in that area, and to be honest, we didn't even go out to where Tower of Terror was. We didn't even go out there because we,
Yeah.
we spent so much time in Black Spire, right? So, but it was like you were saying, the food, everything. It was just it was awesome. So it was totally. Like, I think it was worth it. Um, yeah, so those are my highlights, but I was going to talk about mini. Oh, there it is. It's on the side. I think that it's like a sleeper ride. Okay, because you're not thinking about it. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Wow. Okay, it's totally worth it. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but something happens at the beginning that you're totally not expecting, and if I give it away, it will completely spoil it. So yeah, go and check that out. Go and check out Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It's not too far away from Black Spire Outpost, so you can do that. But yeah, so we did that, and of course, going to the Toy Story thing, we went over there too, and that was fun. It reminded your dad and myself about when we went when you were very young, but we had a good time. But even the Slinky Dog roller coaster had a huge
Yeah.
line.
It's
Oh
huge
my
line. Yeah.
God. It was like,
I was honestly a little surprised by that, but it is like I think it is like pretty much the only roller coaster in like Hollywood studios. That's probably why.
I guess, but yeah, it
Like
was
it's one of the few in there.
such a lineup. But yeah, okay. So do you want me to do Magic Kingdom?
Yeah, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
so that was our next day was Magic Kingdom. That was actually New Year's Eve. So if you go there over New Year's, highly recommend that you choose this park as your New Year's Eve, for a lot of reasons. And especially because the park is open, it usually closes around 9, right? And then it's 9 or
No, I think that one's the later one. I think it's like 10 or 11. It might
okay,
be.
well, it stays open
But
obviously late
yeah.
enough for New Year's. And there was parties everywhere, like dance parties everywhere. So it was fun. So there's like the time it usually closes, and then they have the sort of the countdown fireworks early for little ones, I guess, and then they do it later. And then if you're there for the midnight one, they had the fireworks, the regular fireworks, and then the countdown. Um, and then the park is open for another hour afterwards.
I think it's 2 hours, or maybe it was 1 hour. I
It
don't
was
remember.
So we had an hour after not even quite an hour. So yeah, I'll talk about that. So I think yeah, so it was a good time. So the fireworks, the dance parties were great. So favorite experience, and I think we're going to diverge on this,
Okay.
because there is that whole thing about Tron light cycle run, and
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, you know how I feel about this. It was excellent. It was fantastic, and the line there was incredibly long. It
Mhm.
was not as immersive as other
Yeah.
lines.
Mhm.
That kind of made it a little, a little less exciting, but
Mhm.
well done once you got in there.
Mhm.
The ride itself was fantastic, but the problem was too short, way
Mhm.
too short.
Yeah.
If it was twice as long, I would be like all in for that being my favorite ride. Um, and don't get me wrong, I loved it. All right. I mean, I grew up with Tron. And for me, it was great. Just like, my God, a light cycle, like, and it was, it was a roller coaster. So yeah, but I'm still gonna go with Space Mountain. Um, and just so I don't know if you were going to mention this, but after the midnight thing, everybody runs to
Yep.
a ride, and
Mhm.
I'm glad we ran to Space Mountain. Um,
Again, yes, for the second time.
so we did Space Mountain twice, and
Mhm.
our choice after midnight was to run to Space Mountain. A lot of people ran to Tron. They probably were disappointed because the line got long, and that was it.
Mhm.
So we ran to Space Mountain, and I don't regret it. It's like an old ride. It was there
Mhm.
when I was your age. It's definitely already there, and it's still good. It's still fun. It's long
Mhm.
enough. Um, and yeah, there was a long lineup for that. And actually, the line is okay still for that, even though it's
Mhm.
an old ride. Um, but yeah, so I love that. So that was my main thing.
Mhm.
And then I'll have to admit that I really liked going on Dumbo. Uh, my first time on Dumbo was 50 years ago, and I just enjoyed it. It's just nostalgia. So those were my highlights for my perspective. And I'm sad we didn't get on the railway. I wanted to do that, but that you have to do before it gets dark. So after when it gets a little dark, it shuts down, and we missed it. And I really wanted to do that. So advice: if you want to go on the railway, make sure you make time to do it before it gets dark.
Mhm.
Those were my thoughts on Magic Kingdom. Let me know what you.
Okay. Okay. I was thinking for Magic Kingdom, I only wrote two things down. I wrote down Tron and I wrote down Space Mountain.
Okay.
Um,
So what's your
and
favorite?
so that was literally what I wrote down. But I think I agree. Tron. I really liked how it looked, and actually, like afterwards, I retroactively went and watched. Actually, while we were standing in line, just to give you an idea of how long the line was, I was able to watch all of the original Tron, the
Okay,
entire one, and we still were not inside the building. That was how long the line was.
that's how long it was. Yes,
Yep,
you watched the entire movie
yep.
for original.
And then after the ride, after we got back, I went and retroactively watched Tron Legacy, which is what the ride is more based on, and it like with the knowledge of that, they did a very good job with the theming. But then again, I do wish it could have been more immersive, and like probably the waiting area could have been like maybe extended a bit to keep you in the immersion a little longer. It just seems like once you got inside, you kind of just walked through. When we were
Yeah,
waiting so long, like outside, that was the only thing. And then yeah, again, it would have been perfect if it was like about twice as long.
yeah. Like even if
But
you could go through it again, right?
yeah, or something like that. Like even if you just go through the whole thing like twice, that would have been really cool. But I did quite enjoy it. So I'm not sure if that or Space Mountain was. I don't know because I really like the length of Space Mountain. I love like the fast coasters. That was very 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 good. So I like both of them just for different reasons. But honestly, I feel like if there was a ride in the park that was like the same like length and vibe of Space Mountain, but like just the general aesthetic of Tron, but like also themed like Star Wars. That would be like the perfect
Music
ride
thing
for
that they
me.
have going on in the background is cool too, right? So
Yeah. Mhm. And actually, like I know I was like reading online, like actually a lot of people don't really like the fact that like the music in Tron like just it loops over and over and over again. I didn't mind it, and actually I like after I like actually watched the movie, like I discovered a new soundtrack I like. I really like it, but I didn't mind the music. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked it quite a bit. It was stuck in my head for several days afterwards, but
I can still hear it.
that was those were my thoughts about that, but I did quite like it.
You know what I thought
Yes.
was clever though, that I wish they would do more in the park was that whole thing about not having to take your belongings on the amusement with you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was
That was good.
I wish
Mhm,
that they would do that on the other immersive rides like that.
mhm, mhm,
They had this whole thing where you can put all your belongings in sort of a locker kind of thing,
mhm,
and then when you come back, you take them out the other side, and
mhm.
that was great because I mean you're
Yeah.
carrying
Mhm,
that with you
mhm,
around
mhm.
Disney, so it's kind of nice to be free of that, even for those few minutes that you're on the amusement. I really wish they would do more of that, but it has nothing to do with the ride. But it just so happens
Yeah,
that Tron was the only place that they have that. Um, yeah. All right.
yeah, yeah.
You want to do Epcot or am I doing?
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, Epcot was our last day. It was like the more like calm. We wanted to save it like for the end. And I knew like already when we were going in that the Guardians of the Galaxy ride would be really hard to get into. We got onto that. That was pretty cool. It was nice. It was a good way to like end out the whole thing. And we also went on Mission Space, which is another one of like the I guess slightly older rides. It's more of like a simulator type ride. But I really like they like you in there they like simulate graph or simulate zero G, and
Yeah.
it was like very cool. I quite enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, it was well.
Um, but yeah, but those were like my favorite like rides, and I really enjoyed just like walking through the whatchamacallit, the thing with all the countries.
Or X, the International Fair or the
Yeah,
International.
yeah, that thing. I really I quite like that. My favorite my favorite food in there was the maple popcorn from Canada.
Yes, there we go.
I was I saw that in the morning. I was waiting all day to have
All
that. That we
day
had
you
that when we
wanted
were
that.
watching. I did. I was waiting all day to have that, and when we
Yeah.
had it, and we were watching the light show over the lagoon, which was also very nice. Like every single park has like something special. Like at night with Magic Kingdom, it's the fireworks. With Epcot, it's the light show over the lagoon. And I thought that was really nice. Like
Yeah.
it made people emotional. It was
Yeah,
like it was
people were crying.
very nice.
People were literally in tears. Yeah, it was.
Mhm.
I wasn't, but I knew people were. You know, but yeah. So that one's actually fireworks, light, and water, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
It was, and yeah, it was very impressive. But those were my top few things. And oh, and also in Epcot, I got Ahsoka.
okay. There we go. We have to keep our fan stuff going. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I will. What did I say? Epcot. Lots of memories of my dad. Okay, so that was the one thing because that's the one thing that my dad and I did on our own without my mom, or without your Oma, right? So we did that together. I am looking forward to the refurbished test track. So
Yeah, I was missing that. That was my favorite one. Like when I was like younger, I loved the test track.
test
So
track and a little wee thing in loving test track, which is unusual, but yeah. So
that's where it started. That's why I love fast roller coasters.
yeah, I guess, even though it was like, but it was like, yeah. So that's it. Um, so the other thing I was going to say, out of the pavilions, I think the standout was the Mexico one, because I was not expecting to go into that temple and see a, market, outdoor.
Outdoor, indoor
Like
market.
that was that would stand out. Although Japan, that was fun. If you're
Oh
a
yeah.
stuff, Japan Pavilion, the store in there, and that was
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, going and getting like actually there's on my wall right here there's a Howl's Moving Castle poster. That was not on my bucket list, to get when we were at Disney, but
I don't have any in here, but my little Monchishis, if you don't know what Monchishis are, I have a basket of them at Monchishis there. They're little sort of dolls that kind of look like little monkeys with little diapers, and I know this sounds crazy.
they're cute. Yeah.
They're cute and they're from Japan. So yes. They had those, which was unexpected because they're hard to find, and they even had like a whole table full of Monchishi. So it's a good store. So if you know whatever fandom, make sure you check out Japan. Favorite ride, Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, and double yes, yes. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I liked it better than Tron.
Yeah, I feel like if Tron was the
It was
same
better
length as
than
that
Tron
one
for
and
me.
immersive, yeah,
That was
you're
great.
right. I think that was very well done. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and even like the wait was also well done.
Yeah,
And
the like the virtual queue, it's a little bit stressful. Like you have to be like right on it. I was like literally we were sitting on
watching that,
the
that was so funny.
yeah
There were people in the virtual queue behind us. We were
yeah
on another ride, like like sort of a what was that thing?
the
It was the thing
living
was
with the land.
beautiful. So it goes through the farm stuff, right? So,
Yeah,
but
living with the land. I think that's what it was.
behind us trying to do the virtual queue at the same time
Mhm.
as you, and they were
Yeah.
like, but two
Like
hours.
they were, yeah, they were like more than an hour after us, and we were like literally doing the exact same thing. So
Over
it's very hard to get
us.
in, but
Wow.
the way they do it, it really shortens the wait time.
Yeah, and I think your gamer queue, like trigger thumb thing, got you got us in faster. Hold on, I don't know, but yeah, so that was so good. It was so much fun. I loved it. I think and then I think overall for me, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind was number 2 overall, and number 1, I'm gonna go with Avatar. I'm gonna go with that. That was my favorite, and even though it wasn't a fast roller coaster, I just loved the whole immersive experience of it. So yeah, that's me and Disney. Do you have anything else, or did you did Epcot? Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
So that was
that was
about it.
Disney. We have a couple of other things we want to talk about. Do you want to talk about what you're reading?
The thing is, I'm not really reading anything right now.
You're just
I
like,
mean, yeah,
what is your next thing to read? And then I'll talk about what I'm reading, just really briefly.
oh yeah. What's the thing I'm planning on reading next?
Yeah, like what's your next?
Um,
As soon as I'm done studying for
I mean, I have it in order here, but this is my favorite anime series. It's a little treat when I'm done my exams. I'm just gonna read volume 4. So
so
uh,
Psychopass Volume 4.
yeah, volume 4. But
So that's your go-to anime, right?
yep.
Okay, so for me, I am listening on audio Dark Tower by Stephen King. Oh my God. I love it. Love, love, love it. I am on the 3rd installment, which is The Wastelands. The Wasteland or The Wastelands? Let me just see. Oops, not on that page. It's back here. I just want to make sure I get it right because any Stephen King fan is going to freak out. The Wastelands. I'm listening to it on audio, and I don't want to tell you at what part I'm at because it will spoil it totally. But because I'm listening to it on audio, I'm borrowing it from the library on Libby, and it literally got returned at this really critical part. So I'm just chomping at the bit. The struggle is real until I get the copy back. But I am loving the Dark Tower series. So I'm on book 3. So and since I'm listening on audio, it's going to take me a while to get through the whole thing. But I love it. So if you're a Dark Tower fan, and yeah, let me know. And really, this is sort of my first Stephen King that I'm reading. I read a short story that I think is part of Dark Tower, and it was in the Legends series. So if anybody knows of that, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's part of Dark Tower. But yeah, I love it so much. So yeah, I highly recommend it. It's been around for a while. If you haven't started it, do. And there's some things in there that are so incredibly violent that I don't know why I'm enjoying it, but I It's just so well written. And I think it defies categories because I was trying to find it at the library, not at the library, at the bookstore at Barnes and Noble. And they put it in horror because that's where Stephen King usually is. But if you look it up, it says horror slash Western slash dark fantasy slash science fiction. I think it really defies category. And it is all of those things. So, yeah, if you haven't been into that, I know a few people that I know are thinking about reading. Haven't, so I'm not the only one that hasn't gotten into this yet. But I do definitely have friends that are like, "What has taken you so long to start reading this?" So yeah, I love it. So that's what I'm reading, listening to. Did we want to talk about the couple of movies that we kind of saw?
Yeah, sure. Why don't we do that? Yeah, why not?
Okay. So do you want to go first, or do you want me?
Sure, I can go. I mean, so I, well, one thing we saw like a few months back when it was like in theaters was The Wild Robot. And I saw the trailer for that like a while ago, and actually the funny thing is like when I saw like the first trailer, the first trailer, there was no dialogue, and I was like very like I was a little bit like apprehensive when like I realized that like I mean when I realized there was dialogue in the movie, I guess, because it just looked so nice, like without dialogue,
Yeah.
in the trailers, and I was like thinking that like, oh, it's just gonna be like I don't know, an art type film where there's no dialogue, you just like see the characters. I'm like, I wasn't really thinking, but I did quite. Moving past that, it was a very good movie, and the dialogue did not like take away anything. It was fine, but I just initially thought there wasn't going to be dialogue, so it just threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
But where we go? There we go. My favorite scene was all the geese, all the birds flying off with the leaves in the fall, and Roz just like running behind them. Like I just thought like the animation style was really well done, and it's of course it was like Dream. I think it was picked up by DreamWorks, and that's the same. Like it looks very similar to the latest like Puss in Boots movie that came out like a few years ago. And like I know the style for that was like really like praised quite a bit, and this movie visually just looks stunning. Like you see like the care built into like making the nature look like beautiful. It was just really nice. And actually I was looking on the like Wikipedia article for this, and apparently the more like futuristic parts of the movie, the designs for that were inspired by an artist named Sid Mead, who was an artist for movies like Blade Runner and Tron. So like they really like definitely knew like what they were doing when like between the two spheres of like both like the natural world and like the more futuristic looking technology. And I think it really just melded together very nicely. And I was like, I kind of came away from that movie thinking like when I was like younger and Big Hero 6 came out, that was like huge. I loved that movie. I still do. And this is like almost like that for like the 2020s. It was really nice, but I quite enjoyed it.
Okay.
Oh, and also Pedro Pascal and Mark Hamill.
Yes, shout out to them again, right? We have to be aware of who's doing the voices, right? So that's like really important. So, did you want to talk about any of the other movies, or do you want me to talk?
You can go next, but that's what I was thinking about that one in particular.
That one, Wild Robot. So for me, Wild Robot, what did I say? Yeah, just love the animation. And I was reading that it's also part like the makers of How to Train Your Dragon, and I was actually
yeah, of course.
I was thinking about that when I was watching it. And I was thinking that it does remind me of that, the aesthetic as well, right? I mean, and again, the nature part of How to Train Your Dragon was also beautiful, right? So that whole sort of vibe, and I feel like that vibe was still there. For me, it's hard to pick a favorite scene. Again, I don't want to. You didn't really spoil anything. I don't want to spoil it either. But there's a scene in the winter with the animals in the shelter. So if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I mean. I really thought that was well done. The whole interactions that were happening in the shelter and the result of that. And then the other part where you see sort of how the animals were protective of Roz at the end, which I also thought was really well done. I actually felt a little sad at the end. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but I kind of was like, you know, but yeah, I had kind of hoped that, they would change the world and all of this, and yeah, and that's not
Yeah.
what goes down. But so there was that. The other movie that we saw is Will and Harper. I really enjoyed that. If you haven't seen it and you don't know what it's about, check it out. I recommend it. It's really well done. I think for me, my takeaway there was that if we could all have friends like Will and Harper are for each other, and
Mhm.
the value of unconditional love, right? So
Mhm.
in friendship, right? So I think that
Mhm.
is and given the topic, some people might never watch it, and that's too bad because, in my opinion, but I think it really does show, how important that is. I'm not going to share my favorite scene. I had it written down here, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone because I think
Mhm. Mhm.
the value of seeing that will
Mhm.
counteracted if I say what that is. But it really
Mhm.
suffice to say, there was a scene that really hit me hard, and
Mhm.
seeing Will's reaction to the knowledge of what happened, was I thought, amazing. So yeah.
Mhm.
Will Ferrell, I'll admit I wasn't, I like Will Ferrell, but I'm not like an uber Will Ferrell fan. But I think in terms of his body of work, I mean, I'm very familiar with it. I'm not saying it's not good, but it's just not always my cup of tea. But as a person, wow, he shines. He is
Mhm.
like, I'd love to have him in my friend list, right? So yeah. Um,
Mhm.
and then the other movie that we saw is something called A Halloween Feast. Uh,
Oh,
and
I
I'm
didn't write
I'm
it.
sort of involved with that because I was involved with the first writing of the first script for it. It's not really something I do, but since I do act, I was very active in acting, about, I guess, 15 years ago. I'm trying to get back to it, but I was one of my friends. Gil is the writer and starring in the movie, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. It is sort of like a really gory horror comedy. So if you like that kind of thing, please go and check it out. Anyways,
Mhm.
I shameless plug for the movie, but we watched it. I know that it was a little disturbing for you. I kind of knew.
Yeah, it was not a good idea to watch that before going to bed.
Yeah, well,
But
I kind of knew about it because I was involved in the writing, and I was just amazed at how it was pulled off. Like when I was, looking at the script and thinking, how is he ever going to put this together? Like how is that going to happen? So kudos for getting that thing put together, and some of the effects were pretty good. Like he had a bit of a budget. And it's been on the circuit, so I hope that, if you are into campy horror kind of films, check it out. I will gladly put a link to it in the description so that you can find it. Um, yeah, so those were the movies. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
no, not really. You basically said what I was going to say about Will and Harper's. It's very good, like just like friendship type thing, I guess.
Watched it
But
together. That was good that we watched it together. So I really
yeah.
want to give a shout out to it because I know it's kind of going through a lull right now. It was really in the media a few months ago. But and we watched it, and so it's been a while for us to get to that point. Yeah. So do we want to talk about anything else, or do you want to save other stuff for the next musings? Or
That's all I have. I don't know if you would like to talk about anything else.
yeah, I have other things that I can talk about, but I think let's leave it at that. So the a couple of other things that I was sort of getting in, I wanted to talk about was a couple of plays and stuff, but I'll save that for the next one. One of our, I guess, our our first musings, just to
Mhm.
give a shout out for what we're planning on, I'm planning on, obsessively
Mhm.
planning on, is to see David Tennant in Macbeth because that's coming out in theaters. We're recording this at the beginning of February of 2025. It's coming out on February 5th in theaters.
Oh, it is now. Okay.
Right, so I am
Mhm.
chomping at the bit to see that, and hope
Okay.
we'll be able to talk about that, and I can bring up some other theater stuff in the next musings, which I guess I don't know when we're going to do it, but I kind of wanted to mention it because in our first musings we were talking about Michael Sheen in Nye, which was amazing, and was so moving. And so that I want to just reiterate, if you haven't been able to see that, please try to check out Michael Sheen and I. Um, it's fantastic. So yeah. So that's that. I just wanted to mention that. So hopefully we'll be able to report back on. I hope. Ooh, hoping we're going to see it. Um,
Yeah.
So we'll probably be able to see it in around the Toronto area. I'm not in the Toronto area, but we do visit there. So we hopefully will be able to do that. This area, it's a little bit more limited in terms of access to theaters to
Mhm.
see, theater, video versions of theatrical performances. It's a
Yeah,
little
there you
because we really just have one set of movie theaters here, so it's pretty limited. So, when we go around the Toronto area, we'll make sure we do that
go.
to see that. Hopefully, you want to see it with me.
With you. Why not?
Just Shakespeare. But like I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, so I think for this episode of Birds on Power Lines, I think that will wind that down.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
I think we're planning on doing our second installment of the Skeleton Crew coming
Pretty
up.
soon. Yep. Mhm.
We just want to watch it together, and right now we're clearly
Mhm.
not together. So we did the first four episodes, so you can check out our
Mhm.
podcast on that. We will put out a podcast on the last four episodes, and we're looking really forward to seeing those together and then reporting back to you on that.
Yep.
Right?
Mhm.
So for now, we would like to thank you for listening and being part again of the Birds on Power Lines podcast.